Hello guys, welcome back to Plans 4 and in another episode of History for Wargamers. And today we will take a look at Fallschirmjägers or paratroopers of the German army in the Battle of the Bulge or Battle of the Ardennes. To make this video was impulsed by one guy who commented under my unboxing of the new Warlord game plastic Fallschirmjägers in Winter Gear, which are in Battle for the Bulge starter set. And in the unboxing, I said that they are, great kit. I really love the faces, for example, but they are not really historically accurate for the Battle of the Bulge. And that's basically mostly because their, winter gear is not, suitable for the Western Front. And one guy in comments, he, sort of came to, laugh to me that, haha, what they were wearing if not these winter gear in the, harsh winter, Bermuda shorts, ho ho ho. And I was like that there is sort of a need to more educate the bolt action players about the actual history and policymakers in the Battle of the Ardennes. So in this video we will take a look at which unit were, fielded in the Ardennes, how, and so we take a look on the gear and how it's, historically accurate to the Warlord games kit. So let's start with the basics. In Battle of the Ardennes, or Bulge, depending how you name it, you probably knew about it. It was the, we could say, last large German offensive of war. And its aim was, to rush through the Ardennes, to the Bulge, to the basically ports of the Allies at the sea and get some fuel for the troops and sort of disrupt the Allies' line, disrupts their logistics lines, and trying to do something before the Germany falls. So, at the Battle of the Bulge, we have two Fallschirmjäger divisions, the 3rd and the 5th. The 3rd Fallschirmjäger division was virtually destroyed in the Normandy and was rebuilt from the scratch in Belgium from basically Luftwaffe ground personnel. So, it's sort of paratroopers division just in a name because it was, sort of known with Luftwaffe divisions, both field divisions, and as you can hear even with the Fallschirmjägers, they were not real infantry, but mostly repurposed Luftwaffe ground personnel. So we could clearly call them the second class of the soldiers. In the sort of bolt action or wargaming terminology, they were basically regulars or wars, not some sort of elite veterans, which is sort of the public imagination of the German Fallschirmjägers. So that was the fourth Fallschirmjäger division, and now for the 5th Fallschirmjäger division, it was a new division founded in France just before Normandy landings. Again, it gets sort of beating in the battle for France. And why exactly that they are basically dislocated from France for the Battle of the Bulge? It's easy. I'm again talking about their winter gear, because the famous Luftwaffe diamond-shaped winter parkas were only on the Eastern Front. They were basically issued in limited numbers on the units in Ukraine, and that's it. So there is basically no way how they could end up in the Western Front, because the unit which were issued them on the Eastern Front, they stay on the Eastern Front for the rest of the war. And the two Fallschirmjäger divisions which were in Battle of the Bulge, they were stationed before in the France, or even sort of mastered in the France, so there is no way how they could get them. Even the diamond-shaped or square-shaped, there are basically two versions of the Parka. Warlord went with the diamond shape, it doesn't really matter. They were issued on the Eastern Front, and even there in limited numbers. When you take a look at the pictures of the Fallschirmjägers there, you can see that they are still wearing mix of the diamond shape, square shape parkas and classic winter gear, because they were issued in limited numbers, not for everybody. And even if they would issue it for everybody, thing is that they were inferior quality than the here version. Because the diamond shape stitching, it's not, just fashion statement, but it was way how to, save the material. Because the parkas, you imagine it, there is the fabric, and between the fabric is some sort of insulation. That's the thing will, keep you warm. And if you do these stitches, you need less of the insulation because the stitches take the space there. So the diamond shape is just way how to save on material. And thus it wasn't really that warm as the here version. So the Fallschirmjägers, if they have option, they prefer the here version anyway, and you can clearly see it on the pictures from the Eastern Front that it's mixed match it, and of course basically they wear what they can take their hands off, because the Eastern Front cold or winter was some sort of harsh. So having this, winter parka from Temu is still better than having none. So that's the thing. So again, the diamond-shaped parkas for the Battle of the Bulge are basically Warlord invention. Is historically inaccurate, and it's sort of shame that they, put it there like the Battle of the Bulge troops, because it's pure our imaginations, and for historical accuracy, it's sort of same like putting there the spruce for Africa Corps. Yeah, I know it sounds sort of extreme, but for historical accuracy, it's basically the same. It's the model is historically accurate or it's not. Oh, but let's take a look back at the Fallschirmjägers in the Bulge. We sort of talk about the parkas. I promise I will not talk about them again. And let's take a look at the two divisions here. As again, we have the 3rd Parachute Division and the 5th. Thing is, as I said earlier, they are not really good quality by the time of Battle of the Bulge, as they are basically destroyed in the previous year and were just fresh troops sort of pressed there. And that's the irony of it all, because the Battle of the Bulge was the last paradrop in the war, or at least for the Germans, and that was Operation Stößer, which was paradrop in the American rear. Because Germans think that the time was essence for them, which is sort of true. So they decided they will take paradrop in behind the American lines. Paratroopers will, go and take and hold crossroads, bridges, stuff like that. And then the fast panzer divisions will just, rush for the crossroads and bridges, which were, taken by paratroopers before, and just continue and win the war, basically. But we know that it never really happened, and it doesn't really work. But for the large skirmish scale, which is for example, the bolt action or chain of command, it's great sort of scenarios opportunity, because Germans paradrop some troops there, which is great for the platoon scale of the games, and they're sort of harass the American troops in the rear, and there are some small skirmishes or battles, we could say, about for the aforementioned villages, bridges, and crossroads, stuff like that, which is great for scale of these skirmishes. But it doesn't really work it, as I said before, because there were two, or we could say three major issues. First of all, the paratroopers here were basically of really poor quality, because the command for the two Fallschirmjäger division was to send their best troops available, because it was sort of hard mission to accomplish. But as I said earlier, the both of these paratrooper divisions were, they have some still bulk of some veterans, but most of the troops were, rough, fresh, green guys. So the commanders of these divisions were, and I really understand them, sort of aware of that, and if they send their best troops to this command group for the paradrop, they knew that they would be left with basically useless Fallschirmjäger regiments in their divisions with fresh troops and no veterans, and their even at that point low combat value would be basically obliterated. They at that point they would basically become Luftwaffe field division just with fancy name. So they, instead of sending their best, they sent their worst for this paradrop, and that was to sort of fell destined to fail even before it began. Not to say that the commander of the paradrop was sort of, we could say, unlucky, because he was cousin of Klaus von Stauffenberg. So he wasn't really, trusted or liked by the German command at this point. And Oberst Friedrich August Freyr von Haidt, so Free Lord of Haidt, was thus, in really bad position, because he knew that he must do something or he would probably be shot as traitor or sabotage it. But he got really low quality troops. He got something like, 5 days or something like that to, plan the whole thing. And to make the matters worse, it sounds sort of strange or stupid for us now, he wanted some sort of the post pigeons, but they were denied that they have radios now, so they don't need any pigeons. And during the paradrop, because as you probably know, the German paratroopers have sort of really not really good parachute, and their tactical doctrine of dropping paratroopers without any weapons except the pistols and the rest of the stuff in containers wasn't really working. Even in the famous Battle of Creed, it was clearly proved that it's not working tactics and a disaster. So the paratroopers, when they are landed, again, they were like in Creed, most of the weapons were lost somewhere in the woods and snow. And what is most important, and that's really, sort of bad luck, all of their radios were broken during the paradrop. So they were without radios, and even that their colonel won them, they were even without any of these, postman pigeons or anything. They couldn't really take any communication with the rest of the army. So they didn't know what's really happening with the rest of the offensive, which we now know that they are really stalled, and the German army didn't really push at the pace they were, expecting. So the paratroopers were behind the enemy lines without, with sort of extra exaggerations, without proper training, without any, heavy or proper weapons, mostly without any radio and anything. So it was mess. But again, it's sort of interesting wargaming opportunity, because you can play it in these skirmish scales, like a couple of Fallschirmjägers. You can, if you want, you can give them some sort of limited ammunition rules and stuff like that, and try to take some villages, bridges, stuff like that. It's sort of interesting. But historically, it was sort of failure. And after a couple of days of operating behind Americans and Americans' lines, the wall, or not really wall, what they're well able to master, they fall back on the 9th December back to the German lines, because they were without any ammunition, without food, without water. It was sort of really a real failure, and about just one of the 1/3 of the paratroopers reached German lines. It was sort of really bad operation, but again, sort of interesting for the wargaming perspective. And getting back to the to main paratroopers division, They were basically just, put inside the 6th Panzer Army, and they were used as regular infantry there. We could say sort of mechanized or motorized infantry, because on the paper, both of the divisions should, or at least should be motorized, but that was of course not really a case, so they were basically a regular infantry, as I said earlier, with a couple of good veterans from the previous years, but mostly overwrapped troops, and they were used as just regular infantrymen. But again, for some sort of skirmish scale, it's lots of opportunity in theory if you want, because they were basically put together with the regular Wehrmacht or Waffen SS troops. So if you want, you can, fill the army of 20 Wehrmacht guys, 20 SS guys, and put there 20 of Fallschirmjägers and put it together. And it's sort of the historical list for the Battle of the Bulge. And to be honest, there were basically no exploits or anything really interesting about the Fallschirmjägers' Battle of the Bulge, except that, ill-fated paradrop. They serve there like regular infantrymen, so there is really nothing really to say. We talk about Warlord games, models here. As I said earlier, they are not really suitable for Battle of the Bulge, which is sort of shame, because there is basically at the moment in plastic there is not really suitable winter models for winter paratroopers in the Bulge. Same is sort of true even for the Waffen SS troops in the winter gear for Battle of the Bulge. I'm still, to be honest, waiting for somebody who will, make German troops with the greatcoats and puts winter parkas on it. In case of SS Man Smog there, this is the most, weaved or most seen look from the photos, that the guys were wearing their smokes or winter gear and even over the overcoat. Sadly, there is just a couple of models in, for 3D printing or a metal. Not sure why it's not in plastic. I think it would be really a nice kit, to be honest. Behind me, you are, seeing newsreels or painting. I'm not sure if there will be in 70 minutes from the Battle of the Bulge. And even at the start of the video, there was a video of the German Fallschirmjägers, and there is the guy with sort of captured Stan. There was sort of heated debate in the action community about the Stan gun in the sprue, but as you can see, it was really there. The Stan gun in the Fallschirmjäger sprue for Battle of the Bulge is 100% historically accurate, and is more accurate at the bodies which are holding it on the Warlord sprue. So I don't really see the issue with the Stan gun here. Even it's not really known fact. Germans has something like 3 factories making Stan gun, because the best quality of the Stan gun was the price, and German industrial economic power at the end of the war was sort of bombarded to the oblivion. So they were doing, don't to say licensed, because they probably never bought real license, but basically reverse engineered Stan for them. I think they even for some time they were doing it with the classical magazine from the side of the gun, and then they were doing them with the classic, let's say, MP40 style of putting the magazine from bottom of the gun. I'm not really sure. Don't want to lie to you guys, but I think even that the Stan gun MP40 can use the same magazine. So there is reason why they were using it. And of course, we are talking about the captured weapon on the sprue. There is also Soviet Shpagin submachine gun, which was super popular by the German troops. I think it was the most popular or most fielded captured weapon of the war in the Germans was this Soviet submachine gun. They, of course, again produce their own, not just captured. So that it basically makes sense that is there. Of course, these were never probably they were never again, fielded on the Battle of the Bulge. So if you are doing them for Battle of the Bulge, too, don't put the submachine gun or this submachine gun here. Again, on the footage from the war, we can see that the Fallschirmjägers at that point were basically armored with everything. So MG42, as is in Sprue, is normal. We see them with lots of Sturmgewehrs and even some Fallschirmjäger rifles. Again, Sturmgewehr was way more, popular or produced than many of the wargamers are trying to say or sort of imitate, because for some reason, if you field a couple of Sturmgewehrs in your army, there are always guys who, go and be like, it was a rare weapon, you shouldn't be fielding it this way. But again, if you are playing Chain of Command or Bolt Action, it's a small scale game. If you put 20 guns here, yeah, there were more than 20 of the guns produced, so it's really okay to do it. But to be honest, I'm really thinking about doing alone Sturmgewehr video for this topic, because I'm getting sort of tired about it, because everywhere there, when somebody posts picture of 10 guys with Sturmgewehr, there is this comment section full of guys saying that you shouldn't be fielding 10 guys with Sturmgewehrs, which is sort of bollocks, and you are basically, you could be fielding that this way. It's sort of historically accurate, and there is nothing wrong about it. Fallschirmjägergewehr is sort of more rare, but again, if you are playing Chain of Command or Bolt Action, you are basically fielding army of 30 guys. So if you put there 10 or 15 or 20 of these rifles, it's no big deal. Again, they were manufactured more than 20. And I think that's basically all I wanted to say. Because after all, I admit I mostly wanted to talk about the Parkas Fort, which were now in the Warlord kit. But I think it was sort of educational and both of entertaining, and you get some probably new information. You get hopefully some thought for the brain. And with the paratrooper drop, you have sort of even some sort of mission ideas, because the Fallschirmjäger camp group wasn't really sort of heroic and successful paradrop with lots of memorable moments, but I think it's really sort of interesting little operation which is really suited for the scale of Bolt Action or Chain of Command. And for some reason it's not really, in my opinion, really public known, because as it was not really successful, it's not really talked about, and I think it's sort of shame, because again, it's sort of interesting chapter of the German paratroopers history. And I think that fact that you can mix match them with the other German army troops together in for the Bulge is also sort of interesting. And shame is that there are probably no dedicated rules for that, except for in Bulge some sort of the generic platoon you could sort of slap them together. So that was hopefully all, or hopefully it was all. I think it was all. I think hopefully it was, sort of enjoyable. If it was, don't forget you can, like, if you have something you want to ask, or you think I said something wrong, don't forget you have comment section always open, you can tell me. And if you really do like it and want to see more of, this wargaming for history for wargaming stuff, don't forget to leave me comments what you want to see, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one if it will be released. As I said earlier, I probably want to run something about the German assault rifles because there is lots of sort of misconceptions in the wargaming community about them. So that's really all. That's really all, folks. So thanks you for staying with me for the almost half an hour, and see you in the next one. Bye, guys.